Welcome to Ruby on Rails webinar series. I hope everyone has a great holiday. So today's topic is HAML. HAML stands for HTML Abstraction Markup Language. So let's start with presentation. So we'll talk about what is and why you want to use HAML. And then we are going to spend some time learning HAML basic syntax. It has a very simple syntax, and we are going to see how HAML could be used with Rails. I have to actually add L here. And then we're going to see how we can convert existing ELB template files to HAML template files. And we are going to see also how you can generate HAML files as a default template. So what is and why HAML? So HAML stands for HTML Abstraction Markup Language, as I said, and it is a templating engine for HTML. And it is designed to make HTML creation easier and more pleasant than writing HTML document yourself. So it eliminates redundancy in HTML. So in HTML, every tag has to have opening tag and ending tag, and that's a redundancy. And it doesn't also, HTML document does not reflect the underlying structure. So you could have everything is aligned in the first, the column, and it's hard to see the structure of the HTML document. So that's another problem of HTML document. And the syntax of HTML is not as clean as it could be. So another reason for HTML HAML is to provide elegant syntax that's powerful and easy to understand. So you'll see examples of this in a few seconds. And HAML is a popular alternative to ELB. So many Rails developers are using HAML as a default template rather than using ELB, which is a default template if you're not using HAML. So HAML principles, the design principles of HAML is again, markup should be beautiful. So it simplifies template creation. So instead of writing HTML tags, you are going to use HAML syntax, which is a lot simpler to use. And it provides a cleaner and more readable and easier to create syntax. Again, it's designed to follow dry principle of Rails. Don't repeat yourself again. HTML and XHTML are too repetitive. Again, the same example I talked about. Every element has opening and ending tag, and that's a duplication. And markup should be well indented. So in HAML, space is providing some meaningful syntax, meaningful semantics. So in HTML, space doesn't play any role. In HAML, it plays a role of the nesting. So we'll see examples of that. All right, so let's move on with a basic syntax. So you're going to use a % for specifying a tag. So in HTML file, you're going to use, for example, title tag, opening title tag, and ending title tag. And this is paragraph, opening tag and ending tag. In HAML, you're going to just use a %. So you say %, and then you specify the contents of that tag. So here, instead of opening tag P and ending tag P, you're going to just say % and hello. So there is no duplication of title as you see in HTML in HAML. Now, if you have attributes, for example, here is the tag, and this is the class attribute and ID attribute, then you can specify those attributes in the form of Ruby hash, like this. Okay, this one you don't have to. So this is the class and ID. And you can use the more up-to-date syntax, for example, class colon and value and ID colon and message. Okay, so that's actually a new way of actually specifying hashes. So this is good enough as well. So basically, idea of specifying HTML attributes, tag attributes are specified as Ruby hash like this. Now, class attribute and ID attributes are special. Okay, so since you are using class attribute and ID attribute in most of your HTML tags, HAML has a special syntax for that. So class attribute, you can specify with a dot. So in this case, the class attribute of code, you can specify with a dot notation, dot code. So this part means this class attribute. For ID attribute, you're going to use a pound sign. Okay, So class and ID attributes are special, so they are represented in HAML as a dot and pound sign. So if you reverse these two, then you can specify with a pound message and dot code. So, it could be reversed. Now, another special syntax that is commonly used in HAML is a div. So, divs are very common in HTML and XHTML document. You don't have to specify %sign for div. So this HTML document, you can certainly specify with %div because div is a tag, okay? However, div can be omitted here. So this is the same thing as this. So when there is nothing in front of dot, so this dot is contents and attribute, right? So content attribute here. If you don't have anything, that is assumed to have div. Okay, so all these are the same thing. So this is HTML syntax. This is HAML syntax number 1, and this is HAML syntax number 2, and this is more preferred, and this is the example you see in most HAML documents. Okay. Nesting is done by white spaces. So in HAML, the double white spaces, 2 white spaces means a nested element. Okay, so in HAML document, you have to follow this rule. Every nested element should have 2 white spaces in front of it. So make sure that you are not using tab. Instead, you should use the 2 white spaces. So in this case, we have G and with, and then we have a content of this. So we have a nested element, and these nested structure will be represented by HAML with the 2 white spaces. First, %G representing this element, this tag, and then with is nested version, a nested element inside the G element, so that you should have a 2 white spaces. And here, same thing. Okay, so again, white spaces mean something in HAML document. And in HTML document, white spaces doesn't mean that much. Again, here, you could have this with, without any spaces. So that's the reason what I said in the beginning of this presentation. In HTML document, it's very difficult to see the structure. Here, it is well structured. You can see things. The with is inside the G, but you don't have to have these white spaces here. So sometimes it's very hard to see the structure of HTML document. In HAML, because you have to have these two white spaces, you can see the structure very easily. Okay, mixed with HTML. So if you happen to have a very large HTML document, you do not want to convert every HTML tag to HAML, then you can mix things. So here, if you have HTML document like this, and if you want to convert just this P tag, then you're going to use a %P, and then you can leave the rest of it as it is. Okay, so this is perfectly okay HAML document, HAML syntax. It's understood by HAML. Okay. So you can change existing HTML document incrementally. Now, there are conversion tools available, so you can convert existing HTML document to HAML, and you can also convert HAML to HTML to see how it looks like. Okay, so we are going to use, in fact, for HAML to HAML, there are 2 different tools. One is online tool from Heroku, and you can also use HTML to HAML command line tool. For HAML to HTML, you can use HAML command line tool. All right, so let's do exercise 1 and 2. So exercise 1 is converting HTML to HAML, and exercise 2 is converting HAML to HTML. So let's go to this lab documentation. So exercise 1, we are going to use this HAML online converter. So that's what I have here. So I'm going to just move this one right here. And we are going to convert this. So this is strong tag with class attribute code and ID attributed message, and the contents is hello world. Okay, so we're going to just copy this one, and we are going to copy here HTML. Then you say convert, then it's going to convert to HAML syntax. Okay, so here you have a %sign with a strong tag, and then message is an ID, and then code is class. Okay. Now let's convert this div element. Okay, so we are going to convert this one. So again, this is the same thing that we have seen in the slide. Copy this one and convert. So here you don't see any div, okay? But so dot, this is the content, which is the class attribute, and then hello world is the content. And here we're going to convert the nested elements. So here, again, this is the same example that we have seen in the slide. So copy here and then convert. And you can see these two white spaces between the four nested element as we have learned. Okay. Now we are going to convert. So here so far we are converting just HTML fragment to HAML fragment. Here we're going to convert the whole HTML document. So here we are going to convert this whole thing and convert. So as expected, this is what you get. Now, you're going to see this bang, bang, bang. That's basically representing this doc type. Okay. And you can see HTML is represented by this. Body, which is nested inside HTML, is represented by %body, but it does have two white spaces. Okay. And the form element is form. And the action attribute is again represented as Ruby hash. Okay. Oops. Ruby hash. Okay, and then we have a first name, again nested with the two white spaces, and again input. Okay, so input is represented by %, and again hash, Ruby hash. Okay, so you can see things are very simple. Okay, all right. So here we are going to convert another HTML page, HTML document to, so this is the case that we are converting HTML page that contains the UL element. Okay, so UL element has the line item, the item here. So let's convert this. So this is unordered list. Convert. Okay, so the conversion is HTML, body, and UL, and again, everything is nested. Okay, and it's a lot easier to see, this UL contains li, items underneath, and this item contains a T, and it has its own UL. Okay, all right. The next one is a table. So this is the case that HTML document that contains a table. So we are going to convert this HTML document that contains a table and convert. Okay, and as expected, we have this HTML body and the H4 element, and then table and the rows. Okay, and we have another table here. So pretty straightforward. All right, exercise 2 is now we are going to convert HTML document to HTML, a HAML document to HTML. So using this online document, we were converting from HTML to HAML. So we're going to actually do the reverse. Okay. Now you are going to install HAML gem. So what you're going to do is you're going to say gem install HAML, which I've done already. Okay. And once you have done that, then you're going to actually see these the utilities, HAML and HTML to HAML utilities in your bin directory of Ruby. Okay, so again, I have done this one already. Okay, now you can use now HAML, the command line utility, or HTML to, by the way, so this HTML to HAML, this is a command line utility that converts HTML to HAML. Okay, so you can certainly do convert HTML to HAML either using this online tool or using this command line tool. Okay, so here we're gonna just use HAML, which is converting HAML to HTML. Okay, so you can just use HAML help, and one option that you can specify is whether you want to convert the HAML to either HTML4 document or HTML5 document. Okay, this one is again HTML to HAML. Okay, so here you can actually parse ELP tags. So what you're going to do is we are going to actually go to this HTML files. So I provided some example HTML files. In fact, I just copied these HTML files into the lab documentation. So lab hands-on lab file. So I'm going to just go to HL and HAML. And I'm going to go to HTML file. So I provided this HAML files that I captured in exercise 1. Okay. So here we're going to actually just, try to change one of these HAML file into, um, HTML files. Okay. So I said HAML, and I'm going to just change form HTML to form HTML, like this. Okay, so now if you take a look at the form, if you see that file is generated. Now we have form HTML file, right? Okay, so you can take a look, form HTML. So as a default, it's creating HTML for the document. Okay, so if you want to actually create, if you want to create the HTML5, then you want to actually specify the -f format here. Okay, so here I'm going to use minus the dash f and HTML5. Okay, so let's try to convert it format. So we have created HTML5 version of HTML document. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so you can see it contains HTML5 syntax. Okay. So you can do other things. So basically the rest of the exercise is converting other HAML files to HTML files. So I'm going to just move ahead. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. All right, so far what we have done is just play around with a HAML HTML that doesn't contain a Rails code. Okay, so now let's see how Rails could be used with HAML. So in Rails, you have this syntax in ELB file. So basically what it means is that evaluate this Ruby code and then display the output of it. Okay, so in ELB file, if you have the strong tag with this, and then you're going to just use this equal sign. Okay, so this is the same thing as this. Okay, so the equal sign with the Ruby code in HAML is basically representing this tag. Okay, so this is the same thing as this. A bit more complex example. So here, if you want to replace these things to this, so again, what we are going to do is we are going to, so this is div, right? So you don't have to have anything here. So we're going to just use item class. So we're going to use the dot item, that's a class. And the rest of it is going to be in Ruby hash. So here, ID and the value of it. Here we're going to actually say item, and this could be represented as with a pound sign and item ID like this inside this double quotation. Okay, and then this part is going to be represented by just % and item body. Okay. All right. Another form of Ruby code in ELB file is using this just dash. So dash means is same thing as this. So dash, this is basically just evaluate this code, right? Okay. So, if you have an equal sign, that means evaluate it, and then you're going to display the output of it. But here you're going to just evaluate it. So in HAML, you're going to just use this dash. Okay. So if you happen to have this code in your ELB file, template file, okay, so if logic here, then all you have to do is just the dash and the inside the this % tag. Okay. Nesting is pretty much the same thing. So here ELB file is has the div element nested, and h2 is element. So we have the 3 different levels. So again, you're going to have all these things represented using 2 white spaces. Okay, so there is nothing really complex in this one. So again, so this is the div element, so you don't have to anything, and this is ID attribute, so you're going to use the pound sign. Okay, so the content. And here we have, by the way, so if you happen to have a multiple, the class attribute, then you're going to specify dot and chain with another dot. So dot left dot column. Okay, so here you are basically specifying two class attribute, left-hand column. Okay, so if you have another one, then you're going to use another dot here. Okay, and then we have h2 element using %, h2, and then we use this paragraph here, and here this Ruby code is going to be represented by this equal sign and print information, and then this div element is represented with this. Okay, so here we have render and the equal sign, and then this partial like this. Okay, so pretty straightforward. All right, so let's do exercise 3. All right, so we're going to just use this the online command line tool, conversion tool, to play around with it. Okay, so here we are going to just convert this code. Okay, this is the same code that we have seen in the slide. Okay, and convert. And as expected, we have the result. Okay, so this part is converted with just equal sign and the value of it. Okay, and the next one here, we are going to convert again, same thing that we have seen in the slide, and convert. And as expected, this is what we have. And this time we are going to convert the nested developments. Okay, same example we have seen in the presentation. So I'm going to just try it, and we're going to just move on. Okay, so this is what you get. Okay. All right, so next topic. Now, we are going to convert existing ELB files to HAML files. So you have existing Rails application that are using ELB files as template files. And if you want to convert those to HTML files, basically you're going to use the HTML to, the HTML to HAML converter utility. Okay. Now, in order to use that, you have to add these gems in your gem file. Okay, we haven't talked about the concept of gem file, but basically you can think of gem file as a file that specifies the dependencies. Okay, so here, in order to use, in order to convert this ELB file to HTML files, and also having your Rails application to understand these HAML files, you have to add these 3 dependencies. Okay, so HAML, and the HAML depends on the HP. The record, and the HP record depends on Ruby parser. So you have to have all 3 gems in your gem file. All right, so let's do exercise 4. So here we're going to actually play around with the brand new Rails application. So I have already created it. So HAML app. So I have already created the HAML app application. Okay. So we are going to actually go to HAML app here. And then we're going to actually create the scaffolding. So when we say Rails generator, generate scaffold, and we're going to actually generate scaffolding on student model. And student model has a name and age attributes. So we're going to actually perform the scaffolding. Now note that it's creating, ELB file as a template, as a default. Okay, so we're going to basically convert these existing ELB files into HTML files. Okay. Okay, so you can see these ELB files are created. Okay, and we're going to perform migration so that we create tables. And then we are going to add these 3 gems in your gem file. Okay. Okay, so gem file is right here. So we're going to just add these 3 gems in any location of your choice. So I add this one and just save it. Okay. And then you have to perform bundle install. So what it means is that you're basically asking the Rails to download this whatever gems that are needed, and then add this dependency to the application. So we are going to say bundle install, or you can say just bundle. And the bundle, if you say just bundle, that means you're actually performing install. So it's completed. Okay. So you can see it's using HAML. So basically using HAML right here. Okay, and using HP record and the Ruby parser. Okay, so it's already installed, so that's the reason it's fast. Now we are going to actually go to this view directory. Okay, so we're going to actually go to this apps view students. So app views student. Okay, so we have this ELB file, and then we are going to use this HTML2 HAML, the utility tool, to convert them into HAML files. Okay, so we're going to just convert all of them. Okay, and we're converting edit ELB file to HAML file, and converting to new ELB file to HAML file, and then we're going to convert show, and then we're going to convert. Okay, and then we're going to delete all ELB file. Okay, so we have only HAML file. So if you take a look at the HAML file, okay, these are all HAML files. You can see the HAML syntax. Okay, all right, so now we're going to actually run the application. So we're going to go to root directory and Rails server. Oh, by the way, just to make sure that we are just kind of seeing this HAML, so we'll actually see these things first. Local. So we're going to change the index HAML file. Okay, so so listing students. So what you're going to do is we are going to actually change one of the views students, and we're going to just change this HAML file, just to make sure that we are actually accessing this HAML file. Listing students via HAML. Okay, save the change, and if you refresh, and you can see it's reflecting the change we just made in HAML file. So you can see this application is using HAML. All right, that's exercise 4. So in exercise 4, we were converting existing ELB files into HAML files. Now, what we want to do is we want to generate HAML files as a default template. Okay, so so a lot of Rails developers, as I said, using just HAML only. They're not using ELB anymore. So what they want to do is whenever they perform scaffolding or whenever they perform, the generation of the controller, they want all these default template files to be in the form of HAML. Okay. Now, in order to do that, you have to use another gem called HAML Rails. Okay, so you have to actually add this HAML Rails in your gem file. Okay, so let's do exercise 5. So we're going to just add this HAML Rails into gem file. Okay, we save the change, and we're going to just stop this one. And we're going to again bundle. Okay, so we have added. So you can see it's installing HAML Rails. Okay. All right, now, whenever we are generating scaffolding on school, you are going to, so we're going to actually, generate another scaffolding. This time you're using school. that as a name and location. So when we do perform scaffolding on this, now you can see the default template files that are being created in the form of HAML files. Okay, so you can see they are in the form of HAML files. So if I take a look at this, okay, okay. So they're in the form of HAML files. So if I take a look at the, for example, form HTML HAML files, you can see they are in the form of HAML, the syntax. Same thing for generation of controller. So here we're going to actually generate a controller called a post, and it does have the controller name is, and then we are actually generating two actions and their default template. Okay, so when we do that, you can see it's generating HAML, the templates for those two actions as well. So let's try this. We have to do it in the root directory. Okay. Okay, so you are seeing here that the HAML files are being generated as a default. All right, so that's pretty much what I have. The homework is to convert existing ERB files to HTML files of any application of your choice. So here, I recommend you to use association_app that you have created in Rails Association Hands-on Lab. Okay. All right, so that is pretty much what I have today. So let me